We're going to have a very interesting interview with a prominent journalist friend of mine, and I appreciate the time she gave us for this conversation. She's Carrie Khan from NPR correspondent in Mexico, and with a very interesting story since she actually studied another career. How did you prepare to become a journalist, and what's your background into media, Carrie?
I don't think I really prepared to be a journalist. I think I just found it fascinating and always was always fascinated with journalism and foreign correspondence. And I actually wanted to be a veterinarian. And my whole college time, I studied to be a to be a veterinarian. And then I decided I wanted to go to med school, not veterinary school. I studied biochemistry as my undergraduate degree and attempted to take the MCATs and didn't do very well. So I decided those are the tests you have to take to get into medical school in the US. So I decided that it wasn't going to work. And I started working with a group of people who were have a community newspaper. And I just really wanted to start writing with them and help them out. And it turned out that I wanted to do more of the reporting. I ended up doing more of the business part of it. And then I always listened to NPR and I always listened to public radio. And my tiny public radio station was offering an internship at the time. And I said, I want to do that. And I have been very fortunate that they took me in as an intern. They taught me a lot of things. It was an internship offered through NPR too, through the member station that had a component of it. So I got to work with some of the big names back then. And then I just slowly moved through the public radio system where I worked at different public radio stations, bigger and bigger. They increasingly got bigger. I worked in San Diego for many years and had wonderful colleagues that were more than generous in helping me learn how to do radio and learn how to do journalism. I had wonderful bosses and editors. And then I became an editor for a while. And then an opportunity came to work at the national desk in Los Angeles for NPR, and I applied and I got the job. Again, I had a wonderful editor. It's all about your editors and your mentors, and they were just wonderful. And then a job came up on the foreign desk, and this is the third time that I applied for this job. Three times I had to apply for this job. It was always my goal to be the correspondent in Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean. And finally, on the third time, what's the saying? Third time's the charm. I got the job, and I've been here for 8 years, and it's my dream job, and I love it.
Oh, very interesting. What kind of stories are you most likely to be asked to do in your job from your editors?
Uh, that is not a happy part of my job. I like to try and tell them what the stories are here rather than them reading it somewhere else and telling me what the story is here. But unfortunately, Mexico, in the 8 years I've been here, has gone through a lot of incredible violence, crime, criminality, and drug trafficking. A lot of times, that's what I'm asked to do major crime stories, drug cartel stories, um, stories that affect the United States. Migrants are a big story that I'm asked a lot to do, especially in the last couple of years. And then increasingly in the 4 years of the Trump administration, it has all been about President Trump and his attacks on Mexico, his trade policies, migration. Those are the stories that I'm mostly asked to do.
And in your career, uh, what is the job that giving you the most satisfaction or that you feel proud of it?
Yeah, I think that for me, I do like doing hard and fast breaking news. That has always been something that I like to do, whether they're hurricanes, earthquakes, or major crime stories. But for me, I like to dig in and do investigative reporting, which is very hard, especially in the last 4 years of the Trump administration. We haven't had time. The news is so fast and so furious. We haven't had the time to do that. But I like to do investigative stories that where you get documents, where you've asked the government for things they don't want to give you, and you get them. You get interesting information. I also like to do in-depth stories of characters where you really get to spend time with people that have been affected by a problem or changing a problem. I think those are the stories I like to do most. And in Mexico, I really have been wanting to do more stories about the corruption, that the systemic corruption here. It is systemic, it is endemic, it is really one of the biggest impediments to democracy here. And it was out of control in the last administration, and there's a lot to be done on that. Unfortunately, those stories take a lot of time, and it's hard to get the time to work on those.
Carrie, there's very different manners to work in journalism in different countries. What is the main difference in the work as a journalist in Mexico than in the United States? Because I think, do you think there are ethics and journalists and companies in Mexico today, and it is the same in the United States?
Um, the thing that's always been difficult. My whole career has been in Latin America, pretty much. I worked in Tijuana and I worked in northern Mexico. Is you ask for information and you don't get it. You don't get access to information. That is the hardest part. Like you go to you call the every uh, level of government has a huge communications department, but they sure don't like to communicate when you ask them direct questions or you ask them for direct information. It's hard to get information.
And and one last question. Uh,
What I was just gonna say that if I could just say one more thing, the thing is that so you always have to ask for information, and it's very difficult. That's the hard part. But it was interesting when the Trump administration came in, you didn't get
yes.
information, and so my colleagues in the United States started complaining about how do we do these stories? We don't get information. And I said, well, welcome to my world. That's the way it's always been, and you just have to do the story and try and get the information the best as you can. Mexico has passed some incredible freedom of information rules and regulations that have made it a little bit easier, and so that's made it easier. But it's difficult. It's always been difficult to get information here. That's the biggest part.
Carrie, final message that you want to add to my classmate in the Berkeley University?
You guys are the greatest. I think they're wonderful. I go every year to the Logan symposium, and it was sad it was not there last year, and I fear it's not going to be this year. But the investigative journalism that Berkeley does is much needed in these times, and it's wonderful. And I think, come to Latin America. We need you all in Latin America. We need you working with great reporters like Guatemala, and he's wonderful, and all the training and help and support that he could give to journalists here in Mexico that really want to do a good job is greatly needed and appreciated.
Oh, I thank you very much, Carrie, for
Oops.
this short interview. I hope to work with you again soon as we have done before here in Los
Yes,
Cabos. See you soon, Carrie.
I
Buena
would love
suerte.
to.
Gracias.
Thank you. Thank you.